I've always known that I've wanted to go to Japan, the country that I've only known through movies, anime, and toys. I knew I'd get there someday. I just never knew how until I started this YouTube channel, The Magnificent World of Toys. After bouncing around Southern California for the last 5 years shooting content, I was finally able to make 2024 the year I venture out of not just California, but to Japan, the birthplace of almost everything that I love. Japan seemed like this far-off land of inspiration and magic I wasn't sure that I'd ever see. October 13th, 2024, at 7 a.m., the dream of finally visiting Japan was about to become a reality. Before I boarded my flight at LAX, I had breakfast with my family. It felt surreal, sitting there with them knowing that I'd be away for a while, yet feeling supported and encouraged as I set off on this adventure. My flight was just the beginning of a journey that I knew would change me forever. Saying goodbye was harder than I thought, but as I walked through the terminal, I was filled with anticipation. Today was the start of something bigger than me, a journey to fulfill a lifelong dream. I only have 5 days, more like 4.5 leastways. My plan is to arrive and do some sightseeing, film a video of me visiting Nano Broadway, film an interview with the president of Marusan Toys, Eiji Kaminaga, film an interview with Jeremy Mauney and Tachikawa, film and visit Akihabara, hang out with my friend Yosuke, and maybe squeeze in some time for sleep and sightseeing. I had no idea what Japan would be like, but I was ready to find out. I arrived at Haneda Airport in Tokyo on Monday, October 14th, 2024 at 3 p.m. The moment I stepped off the plane, I was flooded with excitement, but also a sense of loneliness. I took the train to Shinjuku, and I felt a sense of overwhelm. I was in the country I'd wanted to visit my entire life. After arriving in Shinjuku, I checked into my hotel. I felt the weight of loneliness and anxiety creeping in. Bottom line is I miss my family. And Japan, despite its vibrancy, seemed a bit too big and unfamiliar. But I knew I had to push through. To shake off the feeling, I decided to head to the Golden Gai, a famous nightlife district. It was small, intimate, and brimming with character. I met a couple of other tourists there, and before I knew it, I was laughing, sharing stories, and having a good time. I had more than enough to drink, but I made sure to head back to my hotel room while I was still sober enough to find my way. Tomorrow would be a big day, and I needed to be prepared. Day 2 began early. I had a great breakfast at the hotel and then returned to my room to pack up my camera gear. I had a full day planned to explore Nano Broadway and capture as much as I could on film. I was excited, but as I wandered the streets of Shinjuku, that familiar feeling of loneliness started to creep in again. To cope, I took out my camera and filmed the life around me, the hustle and bustle of Tokyo streets. In those moments, I felt like I was back in my element as a filmmaker. The train to Nakano was peaceful, a major contrast to the rush hour train from the day before. It felt like a calm before the storm, and I welcomed the peace. Nano Broadway was everything I'd imagined and more. The shelves were lined with toys, collectibles, and rare finds. I filmed everything I could, documenting the experience for myself, for my content, and for the younger version of me who grew up in Compton, who never thought he'd get to be here. After a full day of shopping and filming, I found myself in a Yoshinoya restaurant in Shinjuku, of all places. There was something pretty cool about eating Yoshinoya in Japan, and it tasted pretty damn good. The night was still young, so I wandered Shinjuku some more. I ended up at the Godzilla Toho movie theater, watching Alien Romulus. It wasn't my first time seeing it, but the experience of watching it in Tokyo with Japanese subtitles surrounded by a different culture was surreal. Day 3 started early, like most of my days due to lack of sleep, It was pretty hard trying to adjust to the jet lag. That day I had to film an interview with Eiji Kaminaga, the president of Marusan Toys, but before that, I had some time to kill. I spent the morning shopping for souvenirs and wandering Tokyo, still processing the surreal nature of being in Japan. I passed through Akihabara on my way to Asakusa, where my interview was going to take place, and decided to stop for a while, but I was feeling a bit overwhelmed. Akihabara is both exciting and chaotic, and as I stood across from Mandarake Complex eating a snack, I found myself questioning whether I could ever live here. Would I fit in? Would I adjust to life as many other foreigners have, or would I just be another outsider? I arrived in Asakusa an hour earlier than planned and decided to take a short walk around the neighborhood. I found a bench in a park, sat down, and just took a deep breath. It was a moment of calm before my interview, which I was fairly nervous about, because I had never met Mr. Kaminaga in person. Eiji Kaminaga began his career as a professional photographer. He traveled to the States where he sharpened his skills working at a commercial studio whilst attending New York University, as well as the Center for Media Arts. His passion for monster toys, as well as photographing them, helped pave the way to becoming the current president of the legendary toy company Marusan Toys. At Marusan Toys, I was greeted by an employee and shown to Eiji Kaminaga's office. He welcomed me with kindness, and we spent the afternoon talking about his childhood memories, his career, and his work at Marusan, one of the oldest and most respected toy companies in Japan. Eiji shared his passion for his career, and it was clear to me that he wasn't just continuing a legacy, he was contributing to something bigger than himself. I left feeling both humbled and inspired. Here was a man who had worked tirelessly to preserve and evolve a part of Japan's culture or history. After the interview, I returned to Shinjuku, physically exhausted, but grateful for the experience. The night wasn't over yet, though. I found a local brewery, and I spent the evening relaxing, enjoying some yakitori, and reflecting on the day's conversations and experiences. Another early morning. By now, waking up early, organizing my gear, shooting video in my room, and having breakfast had all become a part of my routine. There was a rhythm to it. The jet lag was slowly fading, but the fatigue was catching up. Today's agenda was a special one. I was heading to Tachikawa to interview Jeremy Mauney, a toy collector from Kentucky who had made Japan his home. By now I was confident with the train system. No longer relying heavily on Google Maps, the city felt more familiar. And with each journey, I was gaining a deeper sense of connection to Tokyo. When I arrived at Tachikawa Station, Jeremy was there to greet me. From there, we made our way to his home, where he housed an incredible collection of toys. As I filmed this collection, I couldn't help but marvel at the vast array of toys he had amassed. From rare action figures to vintage collectibles, it was a treasure trove of memories from my own childhood, and I was excited to capture it all. As we sat down to talk, Jeremy opened up about his journey, how he first moved to Japan to work as an apprentice for Tetsuo Haro, one of my favorite manga artists. To me, that was living the dream. But as we spoke more, I realized that what seemed like a dream job would soon turn into a nightmare for Jeremy.
It's kind of wild, the stuff that I've been able to do since moving here. Working at a manga studio was like my dream. And then I discovered that working in a manga studio was not my dream. It was kind of hell. And I only did it for 2 years. Once I got out of that manga mindset, because that was like originally my main goal was to work at the manga studio, but I never in a million years expected that I would end up like doing collaborations with Marusan and producing soft vinyl toys of some of my favorite movies. Yeah, I'm proud of what I've been able to accomplish so far. All the videos, all the people that I've interviewed and met. I'm proud of my kids.
Despite the struggles, Jeremy was at peace with where he was in life now. As the afternoon crept up, Jeremy had told me about some amazing thrift stores around his neighborhood that were full of toys at bargain prices. He offered to take me there. I couldn't turn it down. We went out and had some tempura for lunch and then spent the rest of the afternoon exploring these hidden gems, finding toys I never expected to see. It was incredible to see Jeremy in his element. His deep knowledge of the toy world and his kind nature made the day even more enjoyable. As the sun had set, it was time to head back to Shinjuku. Before I called it a night, I made a final stop at Nano Broadway. One last chance to revisit the shops and soak in the atmosphere, but also pick up a piece that I had seen on my previous visit. I knew I wouldn't be back tomorrow, and I didn't want to leave without it. As I rode the train back to my hotel, I found myself reflecting on Jeremy's journey. His story had layers, dreams, disappointments, and personal growth, and I felt lucky to have spent the day with him. Back at the hotel, I was sore and tired. My body ached and I knew I had to rest, but the night was still young. I wasn't ready to be done with Tokyo just yet. After much more exploring, I found myself at a British pub in Shinjuku, finally enjoying a proper pint of stout. Ironically, my meal was Kentucky Fried Chicken. After my meal, I headed back to my room to rest. Tomorrow was my final day in Japan, and though I was physically worn out, I was also filled with a sense of gratitude. Japan had given me so much already, and there was just one more day left to experience it. By the time day 5 arrived, I felt well rested and ready for my last day in Japan. I packed and prepped everything the night before, so there was no rush. I decided to skip the hotel breakfast and head out for some last-minute souvenir shopping. And lo and behold, it was finally raining, which I had been waiting for my entire time in Japan. I couldn't have been happier. I found shelter in a cozy cafe, ordered 2 slices of pie and a cup of coffee, and watched the world outside. The morning rush hour in Tokyo was like any other, but I felt at peace, content in the moment, finally experiencing one of the moments I had been wanting to experience my entire life. With my flight not departing until 9 p.m., the day felt open, full of possibilities, but also full of goodbyes. My friend Yosuke, who I hadn't seen in over a decade, had agreed to pick me up and have lunch with me. At noon, Yosuke arrived at my hotel. Yosuke was a professional actor who actually acted in one of my student films. He's since moved to Japan and spends his days creating art and gifting it with the hopes that it will bring joy and happiness into the world, even if it's one person at a time. Yosuke had decided to move back to his home in Japan years ago, leaving behind Los Angeles. Now here we were, meeting in Tokyo. He asked if there was anywhere I wanted to go before I left. I hesitated, then told him Akihabara. I wanted to visit the heart of Japan's pop culture one last time before I said goodbye. Lunch was at a sushi restaurant in Akihabara, and our conversation turned into something deeper.
You know, you guys are probably the leading example in the world of what countries should be. It'd be great if every place in the world was like this.
I want to express that by entertainment or by movie or art.
Mm-hmm.
I tried, many Japanese people try to do it.
Yeah.
But it's hard to reach all the world.
Yeah.
Sometimes the foreigners like you need to explain that to the world.
Yeah.
So they need both.
Yosuke shared his mission to change the world for the better through art and encouragement. It was inspiring to hear him speak so passionately about his beliefs, and it made me reflect on my own journey and the ways in which we all try to make a difference. After lunch, we wandered through Akihabara. The city felt different, more alive, more vibrant. I could feel that this trip, this experience had been something transformative. As the evening approached, Yosuke offered to take me to the airport. I was grateful after all. It was rush hour, and navigating the train system with all my luggage would have been a challenge. We continued our conversation during the drive. Yosuke shared with me what he missed most about North America.
But to be honest, I miss tacos in Mexico, not California, not LA.
So have you been to Mexico? What parts of Mexico have you been in?
No, I went there to Mexico City, the Merida, Cancun, and Oaxaca. We love there, really, Merida. The shopping, the food, the town, people. We had very good experience, very good time over there. So we miss a lot of, especially the Yucatan area.
To my surprise, it wasn't Los Angeles, it was Mexico. It was a reminder that no matter where we are in the world, We always carry pieces of life-changing experiences with us. At the airport, we took a picture together and said our goodbyes. Yosuke and I went our separate ways, but the connection we shared was something that time couldn't erase. It was bittersweet knowing that I would be leaving, but also knowing that I had made lifelong memories in this city. With hours to kill before my flight, I grabbed a meal and sat quietly reflecting on my time in Japan. I began to miss the country already, but at the same time, there was a sense of relief knowing that I'd be reunited with my family soon. The 11-hour flight back to LA felt like it lasted only 2 hours as I thought about the people I met, the experiences I had as I scrolled through my pictures. I arrived at LAX at 3 p.m., and there they were, my family waiting to greet me. I embraced them, not wanting to let go. We went to Shakey's for pizza, and for a few moments everything felt right again. I was home. In the days since, as I've gone through the footage from my trip, I saw 4 characters. Eiji Kaminaga, a man educated in the West, continuing a legacy in the East. Jeremy, who moved to Japan for a better life and is now pursuing his dreams. Yosuke, a man still finding his way, trying to make the world a better place through art. And myself, a man who's fulfilled his lifelong dream of visiting Japan after 30 years. Though brief, my time in Japan left me feeling like a better man. The kindness and generosity I experienced from Eiji, Jeremy, and Yosuke reminded me that there is still hope for mankind. I'd like to believe that this won't be my last visit to Japan. In fact, next time I'll be back with my family. Japan is a place I want to share with them, and as I leave, I know now what I want from Japan. It's for it to stay as Japan, to remain true to its traditions and values, and so that future generations can continue to learn from it, as well as be inspired by it. Thank you, Japan. Until we meet again.